Hi, and welcome to a new video. In this video I want to do a comparison between the web interface that you normally access your router or router by using your web browser, so that's like Google Chrome, Safari, Opera, Firefox, and it's normally on your desktop, or if you have a tablet or phone you can use the browser within there to access the settings, and also you can see the other items that you can access, all the features. So I want to do a comparison between that and the actual Asus app. So as we know from previously, the app was lacking some features and everything else compared to the actual web interface. And as you've probably seen in my previous videos, I actually always do prefer the web interface to the app, because I just feel that it's easier to navigate and actually have a look through the settings and then the features and everything else. So, but as we've seen that there's been lots of updates to the Asus app, and they've come along a long way now, with all the settings that seem to have moved over, and they're replicating all the features and things like that. So I just wanted to see if it really is still the same, as the web interface is better than the app, or now is it that you only really need to use the app now and you don't actually need to use your browser anymore. I'd also like to see what people think in the comments. Do you still use the web interface, or do you use primarily 100% the app? Because I know most people now just use apps on their phone. They don't actually log in and things like that. It's just more easy for them to manage their router. And also sometimes if you're not really into technology, that you might buy these routers, set up the app and then never go into it. So we'll go through the settings to see, just do a quick comparison of the main features and have a look. So as you can see here, this is the main dashboard for both sides. So this is the web browser, the GUI that you actually, when you first log into the router. And you can see here, this is when you log into the app, this is the first thing you can do. So as you can see here on here, you can actually see here network traffic, and you can see the download upload speed, your network ping, the ping rate here as well, the average in milliseconds. And then if we scroll down, you can change the RGB, so you can change here to the different styles or switch it on and off if you want to, in the colors. And you can see here that there's lots of information, and also where you can actually change that button on the side if you've got the feature. So on the main dashboard, there is a lot of information here already with your WAN IP, and then also the state of all the wireless networks that's available to your router. So, and you can see the internet status, and then the clients online, and then also what mode you are. So if you're in access mode, an access point, or you're using it as a proper wireless router or anything like that, or as a repeater for the AiMesh. So there's a lot of information all straight away as soon as you log in. And when we come over to the app, we can see here that you can do the same with the RGB. You can change the actual wave here as well, and we can actually come along here. So here also you can see the real-time traffic, the same as on the web interface, the upload and download speeds, and then also your internet. So you can see here all your internet, basically the wireless state, your CPU and RAMs you can see here as well. So how much is your CPU and RAM using, and that's not currently displayed within the dashboard on the web interface. And then how many devices are connected, and so if they're connected by wireless or wired. And then also back to the RGB. So you can see here, you can select if it's breathing and things like that. So as you can see here, the app actually does replicate a lot of, or even some more features than the actual web interface. And again, if you come down here, you have the buttons here on the home interface, where if you set up an AiMesh, you can see all the different routers that you've got set up, and you've got the optimization as well. And then also you've got here the game boost mode as well, so you can switch that on as well from within the dashboard on the app. So that's good to see as well. And then you've got all down the bottom here, you've got your devices, insights, family, and settings. So as we said, so overall you can see here on the dashboard, actually it does have a lot. And then also you do have where you can set up new routers as well, with notifications and information. And then you've got your menu here and the IP address. So again, it's replicating, and that does have some more features there than the actual web interface. So I'd say both are adequate. So if you, on the actual dashboard, you can see that it actually matches both all the settings. Next, if we go into devices, at the bottom you can see here all the devices that are connected, and you can see my iPhone is actually connected to there. So for that, you'd need to go into your network map to see your devices. So here you can see clients too, but on here, if you go into your network map and then view list, so you'll be able to see the same kind of information here as it's listing here, the upload and download speeds as well. But then you can go into interface. So it does seem to have like a little bit more information here, the breakdown of the table and everything else. So you can see what band they're connected to as well on the interface, and then their access time. So again, you can go into these devices and you can actually start configuring more details. So you go into there so you can see the download and upload. You can limit the bandwidth. You can see their MAC address, the IP address, and then their safe browsing. So you literally, and you can set the device to be a gaming, streaming, or work from home. So that's the quality of service as well. And what's a nice feature is you can actually here put a different icon. You can choose the different from your icons or camera or photo album. You can set a device icon for that as well. So both do have their pros and cons again. So if you are just using the app, you aren't really losing anything. And then again, you've got your AiMesh as well here. So you can see all your routers. So again, you are, like I said, you're not losing anything at all with information are lost. So if you are just using the app again, all the information here. But again, it's just your preference if it's easier to use the app all the time, or you actually want to see the table and sometimes export that and save it over the list of devices and how they're connected. So next, moving on to Insight. So again, here is where you can actually, so it doesn't really have a feature for Insight here. So this will come under many of the other features that you've got here and actually broken down. Here is just one menu. So you can see here your remote connection when you can enable it. Your AiMesh you can set up, and your easy Wi-Fi sharing. So here you can create a QR code. So that's what's quite easy on the app, is that you can create a QR code, and then as it says here, you can share it with your friends and family so they can connect to your network, and also you can share it directly from here as well. So that's a nice feature. Again, you can turn on the AI protection. So for the same over here, you've got AI protection in the menu. You would come into here, so and then you'll be able to switch it on here as well, so that it's all in nice in the app. It's all in one nice place, as you can see here, and then you can see your current Wi-Fi password as your same as your admin. So it's giving you some actual also information about registering, all in one little menu kind of thing where you can scroll down and see everything, and you can refresh it as you go along, and you can see it's got a date stamp. So all of these things are just much easier and more user friendly, and less, I'd say, less advanced on some of the web interfaces we'll see later in the settings. You do have some more details, but also the QR code is quite nice. That's only for the on the app. Is much easier to share your Wi-Fi details if you want to access and things like that. Then you have family. So here is where you can set up profiles. Again, you do have parental controls here, so you can switch these on, and this feature is actually here as well. But also you've got guest network where you can set up your different networks, and of course then you can enable them. So it's just a nicer user interface for people when they're setting up their wireless internet or their profiles and things like that for family activity. You don't have to go into so many different lists and things like that. It just makes it easier for people to actually set up everything when they're actually doing it. So in this feature, again, it depends on how much you want to do the breakdown, and then how much user friendly. And again, most people just install the app and use the app to actually install. But I do advise sometimes, if you do want to have a look to see what your router is capable of, is to log into the web interface, where you can actually sometimes get a bit more detail. If we go into settings now, so again, if we go into settings, you can see it is broken down by quite a lot of the same that's here, and they've actually sort of like summarized it a little bit more within these menus in the app. So again, we've got AiMesh, and you can see here where you can actually get started. And if we go to AiMesh here, you can see here where you've got it set up. I do like this interface a bit more on the web one, because here you can break down. I can click around here much easier, so I can see the devices, the network, and the ports and everything else, what's being connected. the information around the ups and downloads and things like that, and then also the management of the routers, and then also the system settings. I can set them straight up. But again, you can do that all within the app. It's just here is just laid out, I feel, a little bit easier. But again, it's more user friendly, I think. So more advanced to actually use the web interface than it is to use on the actual app. You've got diagnostics here. So again, network diagnostics that you can go to. Again, it has the system logs here for your diagnostics. So you can see traffic statistics. So you can see your upload and download speeds as well and things like that. So you have on here, you have WAN that has a lot of information. And as we said on here, you have the system log where you have a lot more information about what's going on with your connections and things like that. But again, if you go to your traffic analyzer, you'll be able to see then all the traffic that's been going through the bandwidth, and the traffic monitor here that actually shows you the up and down load speeds between the wireless. Again, it's just quite a nice interface they've got here, broken down by which Wi-Fi network is being in use. So it just makes it easier for people that don't want all the extra details actually in here. So if we go back again, so you've got the network diagnostics. So if you have any issues, again, you can just come in here and diagnose any issues and it will go through there. Parental controls, as we said here, is the same as this one here, is you can set up. So the time and scheduling. So all these I do prefer the app interface. It seems to be a bit more user friendly of setting up. You just basically set the time schedule and then you can set up the profiles as well. So it seems to be much easier for people just to set up the actual parental controls within the app. Well, next we'll go on to gaming. So as you can see here, if you are got a Republic of Gaming or ROG Rapture Asus router, then you can notice the difference is that you'll have Republic of Gamers in your actual dashboard here, and normally you'll have the red and black kind of user interface GUI that you'll have here. So you can see here we have the game acceleration. So again, you've got mobile gaming mode, and then you've got open NAT. So all of these basically details are broken down with further information as you come along here, and game radar. And it's just nice that they've actually set it up in the app. There you can go here and actually access the information, and then mobile gaming mode you can switch on as well within for your phone. Again, I would say when you're comparing the gaming actual settings on here, is probably more advisable to actually come onto the web interface, because there's a lot more details where you can start having a look at like the internet speeds. You can run a game accelerator. You can switch on the quality of service profiles. It just makes it a little bit easier to click through all of these different options, and it gives you much more information in a nice interface than the app, I feel. The app does have that, so you can switch it on, so you feel free to use it. But I'll say if you want to get the full, and these routers are not cheap, so if you really do want to get the full benefits out of it, I'd say log into the web interface definitely for the gaming features that you'll see here on the side for game acceleration, open NAT, and then the game radar. It just makes it a little bit nicer interface. Again, as you can see here, they've got the quality of service as well, and as we saw back up here where you've got the quality of service. So again, this one is roughly the same, where you have the internet speed, so you can do, and then set up the quality of service profile. You can switch it on and off, and then profiles for the devices if you're working from home, or you're web surfing, what you want to prioritize over everything else, and then the speed check. But you can see here, like the game acceleration and game accelerator, slightly there are features are covered a little bit here, but not in full details, where you get the full description and information here. So again, it's advisable for the quality of service, the gaming, to stick to the web interface, because you're paying a lot of money, like I said, and now at the current climate of around the world, if you're paying all this money, you might as well get all the features out of it. So I'd advise you to log into the web interface for these to get the most information out. You have the USB, so again, this I'd actually advise using the app because on here you do have your USB applications, so it does give you a lot more information around here depending on what you want to use. So here we've got the FTP server. Samba is basically shared, so you can share for Windows or Mac, and then you can also eject to the USB. But on here, as you log in, if you do want to make use of all these features, then again you've got the time machine, you've got the network printer server, you've got a lot of features here. And if you do want to know about all the details that I'm going through here, look at my previous videos where I go in depth on all of these. They are probably from last year, but they're all still relevant today in 2025. So again, I'd say that if you are happy with just basic functionality, stick to the app. And like most people will, but again, if you want to get the full benefit out of this, I'd log into the actual router here and actually go into these and then just have a click through them. Most of the time you can't break anything. It's just looking and clicking through to the menus. Just be wary if you go into things like admin and wireless or something says professional advanced settings. Just be careful when you're changing them. Just to make a safe backup before you start changing anything, so you can revert back to it if need be. Next we go to Wi-Fi. So you can see here again on wireless you got your share your Wi-Fi. So as I said, that's really good. Here you can set up, you can share with your family and friends. The options, you have wireless settings, so you have network settings here. So you can set up things for your network and your guest network. So again, you've got wireless. If we come to here, again, there is much more features in the web interface. And again, you've got professional, that's not actually in the app either, where you could start actually try to change these settings. Again, as I said, I've done previous videos, so go through those, but just a reminder to making sure that when you're changing these, you can actually disconnect and change compatibility of older devices and even disconnect some devices. So just be wary of what you're changing here. See my previous videos on that and what to change and what I advise and everything else to go through it. But again, if you do want to have customize these settings and everything else, so like you here, you can change the output performance. You can lower that down. So if you have many routers in your house and everything else, you can turn the one that's closest to everything down a little bit, so both they're not shouting over each other for their Wi-Fi signal. But again, I think if you are happy with basic functionality, the app is more than enough for you. But again, if you're going to buy one of these routers at this price and you want to get the full features, go into the web interface and go into the details here, and you'll see a lot more information where you can customize your router and make it the best for, because everyone's home is different, apartment, flat, wherever it's based, in the basement, top third floor, or you got 2 floors, everything is different. So everyone's settings will be slightly different. So just make sure that if you do want to customize it, that you come into the web interface. So as you can see here as well, you've got Wi-Fi eco mode and Wi-Fi deny list. So basically you can just, as it says here, you can make a list easily to manage devices that can't connect to the Asus router. So that's a nice feature if you think you lent your neighbor some details and they're actually still using them, or they've still got access and everything else by WPS, then you can deny them here and block them. So it's good. And then also you've got the Wi-Fi eco mode. So as it says here, basically the Wi-Fi eco mode decreases the Wi-Fi power and the data rate to save on power usage. To be honest, I think it's a good that they've included it, but is it you want to use it? No, not really, because if you're buying a Republic of Gamers Rapture, any kind of router, you want full power most of the time. And this will slow it down a little bit. And then also, yes, you use a bit of less electricity, but if you're really that conscious about being economical with your electricity and then everything else, and the Wi-Fi, if you've got any issues with that, with power, then you shouldn't be sort of like getting these routers. You shouldn't waste your money, to be honest. So I would say leave that off, because it'll just, it will cause a bit of a delay as well, because it slows everything down. But I suppose if you can switch it on if you go away for a long periods of time, and you're not in the home, it's just like a holiday home or something, then fine, yes, you can use it and you can still have internet access. You can dial back into the Wi-Fi router. But other than that, I wouldn't bother using it, because if you've got a router like this, you want to have full power, full speed all the time, so you've always got the best features. Next, we move on to LAN. So you can see here, if we just go to LAN on here and then into the menu here, you can see all you've got is IP binding. So basically, as it's saying here, assign specific LAN IP address to specific DHCP server list clients. So that's quite good if you just want to confirm, like your iPhone just has one certain IP address when it connects and things like that. So again, you've got more options when we look in here in the web interface. You can scroll down. You can do the same by assigning it down here as well. It has got a nicer user interface here where you just click the plus, select the device, and then choose the IP. Here you've got to actually select it here and then enter the IP. So it's a bit more complicated here, but again, it gives you a lot more information here around routing or the route, and then the IPTV as well. So this is where you'd set up if you have basically a VLAN for your WAN address as well, or you need something like that, then you can set that all up here. And then you have switch control where you can actually enable jumbo frames, and then also you can bond or link aggregation of the ports together as well. So there is a fair few amount. It's all in just one idea as well. Again, so as I said before, basic features, if you want it, stick to the app. If you want to make the most of what you've paid for your router and get the most out of the router anyway, stick to the web interface again for LAN. So now we come on to the WAN. So as again, if we click on the side, so you can see on the left, you can see we've got dual WAN, port trigger. You've got your virtual port server forwarding, DMZ, where you expose that one device to the whole internet so it bypasses the AiProtection firewall and everything else, and the NAT parser as well, and your dynamic DNS as well. So as you can see here, you've got a lot here. So you can set up your WAN connection type. So you can go in here and change that, so that will load up. You can change the different options for that. You've got port forwarding again, so that's good to see that. Again, it's just a nice user interface where you just very simple and straightforward. You can change your DNS servers here, so you can select them manually and then enter them here, which is a nice feature. You've got your dual WAN, and you can also set up your 4G, 5G mobile tethering and your Asus dynamic DNS as well. So all of those really functional and basically the main features that you would need are all in here. So like with your DNS and everything else, it's all here ready to do, and it's just very straightforward. Plus, and then on the top right hand corner icon, and you can just start doing much easier. Here you do have more details of going through all the options. Again, like this is for the dual WAN, so you can set up things like that. So again, if you're a basic user, stick to the app and you don't really care about anything else. But if you want to make advantage of all of these features that are actually built in, and it's huge now. You think a router used to be just for your Wi-Fi and print server, and you're lucky just to share a USB stick kind of thing in them. Like these routers now from Asus, of course they're a lot of money, but then you've got, it's like, you know, a whole server in one. You've got everything in there from virus protection. You've got parental controls, game acceleration, VPN servers, traffic analyzers, network map, wireless networks, guest networks. I mean, you could do USB. You could set up as a time machine. Your Amazon and devices and things like you can share with your firewalls configuration. I mean, system logs, network tools. It just goes on, to be honest. So these are like, you think of it as basically a computer now, and this is why you always need to make sure you update your firmware, or and keep an eye on that as well. But again, basic functionality and main functionality is built into here, so that's good, as we said. But if you do want to get the full out, is go through the web interface. Next, we're going to VPN, and as we can see here, we've got the VPN here, and again, this is basically, you can click on here. So again, I think that this is roughly the same. So if you're using the app or the web interface, it does have perhaps a little bit more detail on here, but again, I think it's very easy to actually set it all up in the app and everything else, and share the details, and even the VPN fusion that they've got built in as well. That one here, as you can see, is all the same. It's got much nicer, perhaps a bit more open interface here, where you can add profiles, so it's a bit clearer for you to do. but you've got all the functionality in here. So for the VPN servers, so I would say that there isn't really no need to swap over unless you really want some advanced features. And again, if we've got Instant Guard, as we said, that's Asus' own VPN. And don't forget that that's not like a third-party VPN like some others, NordVPN or anything like that. It's basically, this one's just a VPN back to your home network via your home router that acts as the VPN server. And then you've got the customized little Instant Guard Asus app that you can download from Google Play Store or the Apple Store as well. So again, it's got all the functionalities in here to switch it on and everything else. So I think it's good. And as I said, you don't really need to, if you've got the VPN and Instant Guard, there's no need to really log in here. But if you do want some more advanced features and a bit more clarity on setting it up and then downloading some of the profiles, especially with OpenVPN, then sometimes it might be a little bit easier to setting these up using the web interface. But again, it's down to your preference. And then we come down to the router information. So again, as you can see about my router, so you can see it just gives you all the details about your router, the IP address and everything else you can log into, your router model, and then your system monitor again. So this is like your actual, see your core speed. So you can see this is a quad core, how much RAM and everything else is going on in memory. So it's nice to see that. And again, you can see that all under the network map and then status. And you can see that all here as well. So you can see how much RAM you're using as well. So it's nice to see. Again, it's got the basic functionality. So if your router's slowing down, you can quickly straight away see in the app what's going on. If it's running out of memory or you're doing too much, there's something, there's an issue there. Normally a restart will just flush out the memory. But again, here you've got much more details with the web interface where you can see all the USB devices, the cores here as well, but also you can see the ports as well, and you can see the individual 1, 10 and USB 3 and 2.0 and what's connected and what's not. So it does have that little bit more advanced, again, information, but again, if you're a basic user, you probably won't need to worry about it. So you can see here we're coming now to firmware upgrade. So you can see here, you can just click on this and it will check for, go out to the internet and click on firmware upgrade. For this, you'll need to go to the advanced settings in the web interface. Again, I've done previous numerous videos, so have a look at those. And then you need to go into the firmware upgrade here. Again, here it gives you more details, so you can switch this on so it auto updates, so you don't have to worry about anything for checking for firmware. And it just basically also gives you the option to download beta firmware and your current version. So it does, again, it gives you much more advanced features, but most perhaps a basic user perhaps doesn't care about this, so the app is more than fine. Check for your firmware version, as I said, at least once a month to make sure it's up to date and everything else because of security fixes and things like that, or even feature upgrades. And you can switch it on here, but here again you can have a few more features to actually do with the Asus router as well. So if you do have any issues with this, I'd advise coming in here, as I said, go into advanced settings, administration, firmware upgrade here, and then you've got a lot more settings. And also you can go to the links to the website where you've got an FAQ as well, and you can manually update the firmware as well. So if you want to upload a third-party firmware, this is the only way via the web interface like Merlin. You can come in here and upload the actual Merlin firmware. You can't do it via the Asus app. So if we go back again, so as we can see here, system settings. So we can see here we've got all the basically, and it's good that you've got system, your settings backup as well. You can reboot it, factory default as well. So that's good as well. You set the time zone and you can switch on the remote connection as well. Your login details. Again, it's got all the information there that it's in the actual interface here as well. So that's good to see. And then you've got here connecting to your smart devices, and then you've got notifications as well. So this is basically, you can switch these on and your device will get a notification when there's issues with say there's a new firmware. And I think this is what a little bit different is normally if you want to know when a new firmware update is, you either have to come into the router, it will have a flashing icon on the top that's how you identify it. But within the app, at least it will tell you straight away that there's a firmware update available, or if you've got a new device connected. So again, I think having both of this, the app and the actual web interface, using both together, as you can see here, I think it gives you the best of both worlds, and also gives you these notifications that I think are really important that you get straight away than you would not with the web interface. You've got your network tools, as we said, so you've got Wacom LAN. So as we said before, you've got your network tools here as well. Again, you've just got some much more basically advanced features that you can do on the web interface. And if you know all of these about quality of procedures, the STA and steering triggers and things like that, again, if you don't know what these are, I wouldn't advise touching them. But if you're a more advanced user, then you can actually select all of these and then change it to meet your requirements and optimize the router for your network. And then if we come on to account binding, so this basically will actually log into your Asus. When you log into the Asus app, you'll have an account if you've created one, and this will bind the router to that. So every time you log in using them login details, it will actually bring up all the routers that are there. So if you've got more than 1 or 2 or 3 routers, and you've got different homes, you can see them all from one app. So that's really good every time you do that. And then what's a nice feature as well that's not so much within here is around the related apps. So you can see here up here, you've got some little notifications as we see here, and then you've got like the little login here as well. Here, related apps, as you can see all the other Asus apps you've got. So for AI Cloud, AI Player, and your Instant Guard and your Discovery device, and then web storage. So, and then their third-party AdGuard as well device. So it's good that they've got, you know, if you do want to connect to your Instant Guard, you've got the link to the app straight away there as well. So that's a quick overview of going through all the different options and then the menu and the app compared to what the actual web interface looks like. So summarize is basically, if you are a basic user, stick to the app. It has all the main functionality. But as advised, is if you're an advanced user or you pay a lot of money for, if you do get one of these Rapture ROG routers and you want to get the maximum features and customization out of it, you still stick to the web interface. It still has a lot more options. You can customize a lot more things. I think it's just still much easier to use. And you can, like I said, with the browser, you can still use it on your phone or a tablet or your desktop computer or laptop and things like that. But having a mixture of them, I think, is good. But again, it's up to you on how you actually manage your devices and everything else. So I hope you found this video useful. Again, leave your comments in the actual comment section, things like that, because I would actually like to know, which do you use? Do you use the web interface, or you've never even logged into it and it's just the app you use, or do you don't use the app? Or would you start using it now because of perhaps things like the notifications? That would be quite good and helpful. So it would be good to see how you actually balance and use your router as well. I hope you found this useful, and thanks for watching, and have a great day.